Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from, and we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country. It's so bad, and people are coming in with disease. People are coming in with every possible thing that you can have.
Former President Fantasyland, who has an evil, weird reality in his own brain that he likes to state as facts, decided to take a page out of Adolf Hitler's playbook last week during an interview with the National Pulse to discuss the immigration situation in the US. Before we get into the reactions and responses to this, we need to talk about why this is a big deal. Referring to migrants as, quote, poisoning the blood of a nation, close quote, is something Hitler wrote about in his manifesto, Mein Kampf, which from all reports, Trump used to keep by his bedside as an example of great public speaking and great leadership. Hitler painted Jews and migrants to Germany as poison to the Aryan race and the German country. In a chapter titled Race and People, Hitler wrote, quote, all the great civilizations of the past became decadent because the original creative race died out as a result of contamination of the blood. And in another passage, he links the poison which has invaded the national body to an influx of foreign blood. In addition to spreading language that echoes white supremacy and Hitler's racial hatred, he's making baseless claims about the people who are crossing the border. Everything he said there is not proven, as he said, and you don't know they're coming from insane asylums and are terrorists. He's making that up, as he is wont to do. At campaign rallies, Trump has repeated that leaders of unspecified South American countries were releasing patients from mental hospitals to send as migrants to the United States. But fact checkers have found no evidence for the claim. Surprise, surprise. Donald Trump making stuff up again. Wild. Jonathan Greenblatt, the chief executive of the Anti-Defamation League, called out Trump for these comments, saying they're racist and xenophobic. Insinuating that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country echoes nativist talking points and has the potential to cause real danger and violence. We have seen this kind of rhetoric, toxic rhetoric, inspire real-world violence before in places like Pittsburgh and El Paso. It should have no place in our politics, period. Former Trump ally and Fox News host Geraldo Rivera first blasted Trump on X after the interview came out, focusing most on the disease-carrying aspect, and then said this on CNN.
I think it's vile. I think it's disgusting. It's very disappointing to sink to that level. It's for me a personal embarrassment that we were friends for so long. This language is racist. It is really disgusting, and you know, some things cannot abide. We cannot abide certain things, and he has crossed the line. I beseech his followers to listen to what he said about poison blood. Who else used that kind of language, that kind of poisonous rhetoric? It was the Nazis, and I hate to use Nazi or Hitler references, but it is impossible to miss the obvious parallels.
Geraldo Rivera, always a man who has an opinion that keeps him on television. First was friends with Donald Trump for so long and somehow didn't find anything he ever said offensive until now, his references to the poisoned blood of immigrants. And now it's a bridge too far because Geraldo was fired from Fox and is now on CNN. And I don't ever believe you can trust anybody with a ridiculous mustache like that. That's my opinion. Rivera was also asked during his opinion about comments made by Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung. Let's see the damage control Trump's team tried to lay out and how Rivera wasn't buying it.
A Trump spokesperson, though, said this in a statement that this is normal, a normal phrase that is used in everyday life, in books, television, movies, and in news articles. For anyone who thinks that it's racist or xenophobic is living in an alternate reality, consumed with nonsensical outrage. But the idea that poisoning the blood is a phrase that is normal, that most people say, it just doesn't pass a common sense test.
Excuse me, I apologize to you and your audience, but I have to say that the spokesman's excuse was absolute. Really, it is low down and dirty. Give me a break. A normal everyday discourse. Who talks about poison blood? Who talks about that? Who says that an immigrant is poisoning? It is beyond. It really is beyond the beyond. It's not. This is not appropriate discourse. This is not fair play. This is awful. Just awful.
My friends and I talk about poison blood all the time. It's everyday lingo. It's like, hey, what's up, man? Don't poison the blood today. I mean, of course, Geraldo is right on this, but somehow he was not offended by saying there's very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally. He's not offended by making fun of every group that Trump has always made fun of and demonized throughout his entire existence and presence on the political landscape. Cenk?
Yeah. So look, I think Geraldo is, generally conservative, and so he doesn't. Sometimes he gets animated about things when it affects him. And now in this case, he's half Latino, half Jewish, so this affects him in every way. And so he is. I think he's genuinely disgusted by Trump. But Ben is absolutely right that we could have used some of that disgust earlier. And when he did 1,000 things, including going into a room filled with Republican Jewish leaders and saying nobody likes to renegotiate more than this room. A bunch of basically calling Jewish Americans, people who squelch on their deals. No, you are, you ass. Donald Trump is the one that never pays his bills, never pays his debts. He's like the worst person on earth. And then he puts that stereotype on Jews and so many others. And guys, it's not an accident that they said the Jews will not replace us in Charlottesville, and Trump said there were fine people on both sides. It's not an accident that 2 of the shooters targeted synagogues. Now in this case, they're referring to Latinos, but they're using these old school. And the reason why we're saying Nazi and Geraldo said Nazis, because literally no one else talks about the poisoning of the blood of a nation other than Hitler and Trump. So find me any other reference. And by the way, if you do, it'll be a murderous dictator. There are no pleasant people that talk about the poisoning the blood of a nation. What that means is our blood is pure and their blood sucks because they're the others. Whether they're Latinos or Jews or anything else, we can't let them infect our blood. And by the way, Trump also talked about how they carry disease. And again, this is Nazi 101. Like the Nazis often talked about, we can't let other people into the country because they carry disease, and the Jews carry disease, and they're poisoning our blood. And we have to kick them out of the country, or we have to do something else about them. And they found something else. And so this kind of talk is not within 1 billion miles of normal. So if you're MAGA and you catch feelings because we've offended your fascist leader, your feelings are not my concern. My concern is that you've picked the wrong goddamn guy. So you want to pick someone who's anti-establishment, have at it. I would love it. You want to pick someone who wants to fight corruption, that would be amazing, right? But he ain't it. He ain't it. He's personally corrupt. He robs you all the time. He steals from you all the time. Oh, give me your money, give me your money. And then what does he do? Buys giant paintings of himself. He's an egomaniac. And it's not an accident that they chose poisoning the blood of a nation. That you do research to pick a term that specific, a phrase that specific that no one else uses. And you saw it when Tucker Carlson was on Fox News and he would talk about how the immigrants will not replace us. That was a phrase he used several different times after Charlottesville. They're just taking what the Nazis said and replacing Jews with immigrants, sometimes not replacing. So, okay, if you're hardcore MAGA, nothing will move you. And if he literally said, yes, I am a Nazi, and I don't want these people being impure, and we have the pure blood, and we should do whatever the hell we want to them, I know some portion of MAGA would be like, oh, finally. Keep it real. And by the way, okay, if you're not in that portion of MAGA, you can ignore that. And you can say, but at some point, it's on you to say, this doesn't represent me. If there was any leader that I liked that talked about any group of people, white people, straight people, whatever, can't even imagine it, right? But that said they're poisoning the blood of our nation, I would never support that guy. I would never support that guy. But if you do and you think, it's not that big a deal. Well, I guess it's not that big a deal to you, but it's a giant deal to the rest of us who don't want to live under fascist rule. And if you were outraged that Democrats call Trump fascist, then you would be so livid at Trump right now. Why would you play into that narrative by using only phrases that fascists use? Are you livid? Are you MAGA? Are you livid at Trump for making you all look like fascists? If you are, you have a funny way of showing it. Pick a new leader. I know you won't. And you'll blame everyone else, and you'll have nothing but excuses, and you call everything fake news even though you just heard him say it. All right, no, I know, only the Nazis and Trump use it, but I bet it was a coincidence. If you can sleep at night, go ahead. But we have to defeat this monster. We have to defeat this monster. That guy cannot be in charge of the country again.
And at some point we have to stop giving the benefit of the doubt and giving more chances to his supporters to say, at what point do you leave this person? That's almost, it becomes in a more extreme version, 2/3 into the Holocaust, saying, do you guys still support Hitler here? The vast majority of the German population? Well, at some point, you either rise up against a leader who has demonized every group, or you endorse it. Even if you're not actively supporting it verbally, if you are out in the public sphere saying, I support Trump no matter what, and included in that no matter what is a history of racist, misogynistic, vile statements, not to mention straight up crimes against our country, treasonous actions to overthrow our own democracy, you are that. Anyone who still supports Trump now is someone who supports racism, misogyny, and is against the democracy of the United States. You're out of chances now. We just have to defeat you.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.